Sue, and this one's looks like it was a 16.74 megabytes raw image taken on a Nikon Z52 with a 28-75 millimeter 2.8 at 112 millimeters. You can see that it was shot at a shutter speed of 1/4000th of a second, which is pretty fast for the image, I'm imagining. 2.8 at 6400 ISO. And let's zoom in and see. Got quite a bit of noise on this one. So what we're going to do first, and since this is a raw image, I'm going to go to Develop Module, and I'm going to go to Detail, and I'm going to click on Denoise. And first I'm going to zoom in, and then I'm going to click on Denoise. So here we go. All right, it's about done. Here we go. Okay, let's look at the before and after. So I'm going to turn this off and turn it back on. Yeah, it did a little bit. Got rid of some noise in there, which is good. So that's good. So let's go ahead and go back to the basic tab. And again, the first thing I usually do is hit adaptive color. Okay, that made it a little darker than I really want. So let's Control Z and get rid of that and just try auto. Auto's a little better, but let's go to landscape and see what that does for us. I think I'm going to stick with landscape and then I'm going to try auto. Okay, I think I'm going to start with that right there. Actually, let me turn off auto real quick. I think I'm going to start right here. The reason being is I didn't like what the darkness that it put into the deer, which means I'd have to bring that back out, which again could introduce noise and everything else. So here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blacks down. And again, I can take it until I start seeing the blue on here. Don't want that. I'm going to go just a little lighter. My whites are already clipping, so let's see where that actually starts. Okay, it starts in the background, so we can actually punch that up a little bit. And then I'm going to take my highlights down quite a bit. I'm going to take my contrast up to about 20. And then I'm going to take my shadows up and see what that does for us. That really didn't do very much for us at all, so I'm going to leave it right there. I'm going to take the vibrance up to about 15. And we'll take the saturation up maybe to 3. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and hit the mask. And I'm going to do select object. And again, I got the square on versus just the freeform. So now I'm just going to grab these two deers, see if it picks it up. And it did. I don't think it picked up this deer very well, so I'm going to do an add to this one. And I'm going to do another object. And this time I'm just going to do this little deer here. Okay, so it picked it all up now, which is good. And I don't have very much splash over or carryover. I actually didn't get the deer's head, so let's add another one. And could have tried subject, but I like using the object selection. All right, looks like we got it all now, so that's good. So let's go ahead and rename this one to deer. We'll make it O deer. Okay, and let's go ahead and make a duplicate layer with the inverted mask, which means we'll get the background. So this one we're going to name this one background. Actually, it says oh dear inverted, so we'll just leave it at that. We all understand what that is. So now I'm going to take the shadows down to see if we can get a little bit of that brightness away from there, which we did. I'm liking that. Let's take down the highlights a little bit. Okay. Take up the contrast just a bit, and I'm going to play with the temperature slider on this one. That'll make it more fallish looking because the leaves are on the ground. We'll go about right there. Don't really need to do anything with saturation, but I think I might take it down just a tad. Maybe to 6 looks pretty good. Okay, so now let's go back to the oh deer, and I want to give a little bit more exposure onto them. So let's try it with the shadows first. Okay, that gave us a little bit, but it actually looks like if I zoom in, it almost looks like I got a blue tint on these guys. So let's see what we do if we move this slider over to the, oh, let's make them gold. That looks pretty cool. Let's go back to 0, and let's move it up just slightly. We'll go to there. I'm going to take the saturation up on these guys a little bit. Okay, looking good. Yeah, this guy's in the shadow, so he's going to have a little darker here. Let's take the highlights down and see what that does for us. Okay, I'm going to go with that right there. And let's go ahead and close this. Let's go up and see what we got. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's see what kind of sharpness we have. The sharpness is okay. Looks like the focus might have been on this deer's booty, which means you lost a little bit of sharpness here. It looks like his ear's pretty good, but it looks like the eyes may need just a little bit of work. So what we're going to do now, and I always crop last so I can, if I want to make different edits to the crop, I can. So I'm going to go down to detail. And again, we already got denoise on. I'm going to click the detail up to about 40, or about 108, I guess it is. Radius is 1.3. And then I'm going to take and hold down the option, left click and hold it down, and then go to where I can just get what I want to be in focus. Okay, that focused quite a bit, which, okay, in this case, I guess we're going to have to live with it from Lightroom. So what I would do next on this image is really about the only thing is go up to the crop tool. And again, you can hit R for crop. And I'm going to do my normal 16 by 9. And then I'm going to get rid of some of this excess. So I want to keep some of those brown leaves because I think that adds quite a bit to it. I think the colors behind it might work too. Let me go down just a little bit, crop in just a little bit more. Maybe about there. Let's do F for full screen. Okay, that's looking good, but I did notice now we got an artifact over here that we got to get rid of. So this is, you know, doing distraction or doing border patrol. So let's go ahead and hit F again. Actually, I can get rid of this over here too if I wanted to. Nothing else really is distracting. This could be, but it's not too bad. But let's go ahead and do F again to go down to full screen. And I'm going to double click and set that in. Now, what I'm going to do is to get rid of these, and I think I'm going to try to get rid of this up here. It'll work a lot better in Photoshop. So I'm going to right click, go edit in Photoshop, edit a copy, yes. And now Photoshop is opening. And there it is. I'm going to double click to make this full screen. And now I'm going to hit the J button, which is the remove tool. Make my brush a little bigger with the bracket keys. And then I'm going to paint over this one right here and see what it does for us. Worked out pretty good for us. Let's go ahead and get rid of this one because it's kind of small over here too. So we'll get rid of that one. Cool. Let's get rid of this brown spot over here too. Okay, that's looking good. Let's get rid of this transition here. Okay. So that's good. Now this one's a little bigger. So what I'm going to hit now, instead of doing it with the remove tool, I'm going to hit the letter L for lasso, and I'm just going to lasso this, and I'm going to stay on the border, and I'm going to come down here, and then I'll release, and it'll grab itself. Now all I'm going to do is hit generative fill. I'm not going to put any text in the options, and I'm just going to hit generate. So here we go. Give me 3 options here, and of course you can click on generate more. If you hit generate, it'll give you 3 more, and it'll keep doing it until you're done. Well, that's different. Okay, I think I like that. I like that too, but that just gives me more distractions. So let's go ahead and hit, I'm going to delete this one, and I'm going to delete this one, and I'm going to hit generate again and get me 3 more options. See the way it's giving me 3 more options? I don't like that. I don't like that, and I don't like that. So I think I'm going to stick with this one. And now since this is a layer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten this. So you can either come up here and do flatten, or I just do Command E for merge down. And now I've only got the background layer, which is what I need. So now I'm going to just come up here and hit the X button to close this. And when I hit close, it's going to say, do you want to save it? Yes, I want to save this. So I'm going to hit save. And again, since these 2 products work together, it saved it automatically back into Lightroom, which now you can tell it's the Photoshop version because it says PSD, which is a Photoshop extension. So there we are. I think, let me look full screen again. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm going to get rid of this. So I'm going to hit the Q button, which is the remove tool. And I'm going to make my brush a little bigger, and I'm going to actually try to get rid of this white area right here and see what that does for us. Maybe a little bit up here. Get rid of this white spot here, this one here, and maybe this down in here. Well, if we're doing this, let's go ahead and fill it all in. What the heck? Okay, we're gonna call, let's get rid of this blob over here. I don't know what it is, but we'll get rid of that too. Okay, let's hit remove and see what that does for us. And again, this is using AI, and again, this is gonna depend on how fast your computer is, on how fast it goes. All right, it's done. So that looks a lot better. Let's go ahead and hit close and let's see what we got here. Yeah, I'm liking it. The little bit of hot spots is okay. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't really hurt the image, which is good. These limbs up here doesn't bother me either because that's just natural. It's coming off this tree here, so you would actually, it'd be hard to kind of get rid of all that stuff. You can get rid of this over here, but I don't see where that caused me any problems either. So at this point, really the only thing I need to do is I'm going to go back to the sliders, which is your basic tab, basically. And I'm going to go and I'm going to change or actually do a vignette, which you need to always put a vignette in there. And actually with this one, a darker one, I'm setting it right at 20. Let's turn it off and see what it looks like. Yeah, I think I like 20, so I'm going to go to 20. Because it lends your eyes, or at least it focuses your eyes back into the deer. So at that point, I'm going to say that this image is done. So let's look at the before and after. So let me go ahead and do this one. This is the one I just edited, and you can tell up here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a copy by doing Command asterisk. And in this one, I'm going to turn it off to reset it to back to the original. So there's the original. So let's show this edit and the original, and let's do C for compare, tab to get rid of the sides, and that's the difference between the two so far. Big difference. Now you can actually see a lot of noise, and here you don't have all the noise. Really big difference. So that worked out pretty good for us. I am going to do one other thing. I'm going to take this image and I'm going to throw it over to Topaz AI again, and let's see what that does for us. So I'm going to click it over to AI Topaz Studio, which is again the new version. And there it is. And it's going to do raw, which it just done. I'm going to choose something else too. I want to put sharpening in there. Actually, I can just click on sharpen the subject right here. So let me do that. And let's see how the subject picked it up. Let's see what they said the subject was. Well, I've done pretty good. But let me do custom. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cover up what I think the subject is, which is going to be a little more precise than what it did when it thought it found it. Then it usually does a pretty decent job, but in this case, for some reason, it didn't do the best in the world. Let's go ahead and do the little fawn. Get the ear. Get the body. All right, there we go. Now let's click back on to, actually click done on that. And now let's go back over here and let's pull this over and we'll see the before and after. Excuse me, so it's done. So let's see what it done before and after. Done quite a bit, but I'm going to click on strong and see what it does for us, which is just another AI algorithm. Okay, now that punched it up quite a bit. So we're going to go with that. And I'm going to sit, excuse me, I'm going to hit export to Lightroom Classic. And it's going to export it and throw it right back into Lightroom. And wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. There it is. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these same edits from this one. I'm going to go into D for develop. And I'm going to do Control C to copy the development, the settings. I'm going to actually copy the crop too, since we want to kind of make this match. And then I'm going to go back to this one, which is the DNG. That's a DNG2, but this, no, it's an F. This is the one we want. So I'm going to hit Control V to copy those settings. And there it is. Now, again, we would have to come in here and do the same thing here, get rid of that, get rid of this dirt, get rid of this stick, maybe get rid of some of the hot spots in here. But what I really wanted to show you was the difference between the denoise and the sharpening between Topaz AI Photo Studio and what I actually done on Lightroom, and then also threw it into Photoshop to do the remove. So I'm going to do C for compare, tab to get rid of the sides. Oops, I already had the sides off. And now this one is the one we done in Photoshop and Lightroom, because you can tell by the PSD. And then this is the one that was done in Topaz. So let's zoom in on the heads and see what we got here. Well, you can really see a huge difference in here. I mean, look at the fur here. Look at the eye. It may have done a little bit too much here. Maybe should have, I don't know if I was close to it. Yeah, and you can see the hair on the back. You can see this a lot better. It did change. Looks like the colors changed a little bit. So let me zoom out, and I'm going to hit C again. And we are on the DNG one, which is the one I want. I'm going to hit develop. And I want to change the overall temperature a little bit. It doesn't, well, actually, I didn't have temperature on, so that's the reason it didn't do that whenever I copied the settings. So let's go there. And actually, hang on. What it didn't do is, let's go back to this one. Let's do Control C again. And this time, let's do the masking on the deer. And let's also do, what was the other thing that I said? I think that's it. Let's Control copy. Now let's go back to this one, and let's paste that Control V. And see, at this point it'll pick up the other colors, or at least yeah, see, that's a lot better. So now let's look at this one compared to the Photoshop one. These two, hit C to compare. Tab's already off. This is the Photoshop one where we removed all the distractions and got rid of the hot spots, and this is the one that we done in Topaz Photo Studio. Let's click on it, zoom in, and yeah, that looks a lot better. I think it's got a lot more everything to it. Again, it looks like whenever I done my selection, I probably needed to pay a little bit more attention and make this a little smaller, because it did put a little crispiness around the legs, which I don't really like. It also done it around the fawn too, but you guys get the point on that. And if you don't have Topaz Photo Studio, then I'm just kind of showing you the difference, so it really doesn't matter. So let's hit C again to get out of this. And let's go back to the Photoshop one, which is this one. Let's do full screen. So really kind of a big difference here. I like getting rid of those hot spots. I like getting rid of the distractions or the border patrol, which I think helped quite a bit. And besides that, Sue, this is a great picture. I love the fawn, just a cute little thing. And then Mama, of course, is standing tall, making sure you don't come after the fawn. So great image. I would love to get other people's images so I can do the same thing. And again, it's not to show that I'm wonderful at this. It's just kind of show what somebody else's perspective is. So I hope you enjoyed this. Again, Sue, thanks for sharing. And until next time, see ya.